Hey there! We've all seen it in the news, talk about recessions, inflation, and economic downturns. It's enough to make anyone nervous. But here's the thing, while no one can predict exactly when or if a recession will hit, we can prepare for it. And that's what today's video is all about. Financial planning for a potential recession. We'll talk about practical ways to protect your finances, from saving strategies to smart asset allocation, so you can weather the storm and come out stronger on the other side. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid plan in place to safeguard your money, even if the economy takes a downturn. Sound good? Let's get into it. First things first, what exactly is a recession? In simple terms, a recession happens when the economy starts shrinking instead of growing. Usually, this means businesses make less money, unemployment goes up, and people start tightening their belts. This is part of the natural economic cycle, but it can still feel pretty rough if you're not prepared. But don't worry, recessions aren't the end of the world. In fact, they're a normal part of the economic cycle. The key is knowing how to protect yourself and your family when times get tough, so you don't find yourself scrambling when the economy slows down. Let's get straight into the most important part of recession-proofing your finances, your emergency fund. I know it sounds basic, but trust me, it's essential. Ideally, you want to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses set aside in a savings account. Why? Because if you lose your job or your income takes a hit, this fund will give you breathing room. And here's the thing, make sure this money is liquid. You want it easily accessible, so a high-yield savings account is perfect. Don't gamble with your emergency fund by investing it in stocks or risky assets. This is your safety net. Let's say your monthly expenses, rent, groceries, utilities, total $2,500. In that case, aim to have between $7,500 and $15,000 saved up. It sounds like a lot, I know, but even having a portion of that will give you a much-needed buffer during tough times. Now, once you've got that emergency fund started, the next step is to take a good, hard look at your expenses. We're talking about your budget. In a recession, every dollar counts, and it's easier to cut back now than when you're feeling the pressure. Start by trimming the fat. Things like unused subscriptions, frequent dining out, or impulsive online shopping. It's not about cutting out all the fun in life, but it's about getting intentional with your money. Create a budget that focuses on your essentials: housing, food, transportation, and maybe a little fun money, while cutting down on the non-essentials. Think of it this way: the less you're spending now, the more you can save or invest to prepare for a rainy day. Plus, once you cut unnecessary expenses, you might realize you didn't really need them in the first place. All right, let's shift gears and talk about asset allocation. During a recession, the stock market tends to drop, and that can make a lot of people panic. But here's the thing, you don't want to make emotional decisions with your investments. In fact, the right asset allocation can help you weather the ups and downs. Here's the rule of thumb. You want a balanced mix of assets. That means not putting all your eggs in one basket. A well-diversified portfolio might include a mix of stocks for growth, bonds for stability, and maybe even some cash or gold for security. The key is to spread out your risk so that if one part of the market tanks, you're not losing everything. For example, if you're in your 30s or 40s, you might go with a 60-40 split, 60% in stocks and 40% in bonds or other safer assets. If you're closer to retirement, you might want to be more conservative, leaning more heavily toward bonds and cash. The goal is to protect your wealth while still leaving room for growth. Now, here's one of the biggest mistakes people make during a recession. They try to time the market. They see the stock market dropping and think, I better sell everything before it gets worse. But here's the reality. Timing the market is incredibly difficult, even for the pros. The best thing you can do is stay invested. Markets tend to recover over time, and if you pull out at the wrong moment, you could miss the rebound. Remember, recessions don't last forever. Historically, the market has always bounced back, and those who stay invested usually come out ahead. So instead of trying to time the market, stick to your long-term investment plan. And hey, if you've got some extra cash, recessions can actually be a great time to buy. Because let's face it, everything's on sale. Another smart move during a potential recession is to diversify your income streams. If you've only got one source of income, like your full-time job, you're more vulnerable if something goes wrong. But if you've got a side hustle, freelance gig, or some passive income, you're more likely to stay afloat. Maybe you've got a skill that people are willing to pay for: graphic design, writing, tutoring, you name it. Or maybe you could start a small side business. The goal here is to have multiple streams of income, so if one dries up, you've still got money coming in from somewhere else. It could be something as simple as renting out a room on Airbnb or doing some freelance work on the side. The key is to have a backup plan, so you're not entirely dependent on one paycheck. Okay, here's a big one. If you've got high-interest debt, like credit card debt, now is the time to pay it down. Why? Because during a recession, your income might decrease, but that debt isn't going anywhere. High-interest debt is a huge financial burden, and it can snowball if you're not careful. So make a plan to tackle it now before things get tough. Start by paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first, and then work your way down. If you're struggling with high-interest debt, look into consolidating it into a lower-interest loan or finding a 0% balance transfer credit card. The less debt you have hanging over your head during a recession, the better. So there you have it. Those are the key steps you can take to protect your finances in the face of a potential recession. By building an emergency fund, cutting back on expenses, diversifying your investments, and paying down debt, you're setting yourself up for financial security no matter what the economy throws at you. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone you think could use some recession-proofing tips. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care of your money, and it'll take care of you.